Hello, hi, how are you? I'm Candace, and today I'm going to give you a plot point summary of the Epic of Gilgamesh. I read it recently, and I thought I would give you a summary so that you can figure out if you'd like to read it too. So, little background, the Epic of Gilgamesh is thought to be the first epic, or like the first really big story in the world, because it was written on clay tablets in cuneiform, which were then burned and hardened, and now we have it today. So anyways, I have my little summary here, and so if you hear flapping of paper, that's what that is. So here we go. The Epic of Gilgamesh opens with the author talking about Gilgamesh, the king of Uruk. Uruk is an ancient city in Sumer, which is in Mesopotamia, which is in like modern day Iran, basically. So, Gilgamesh is the king of Uruk, but he's abusing his power. For example, he's raping brides on their wedding nights. So, that's not very good. So then it introduces Enkidu, a wild man of the forest. Enkidu is uncivilized. So, a trapper encounters Enkidu and then goes to Gilgamesh and says, I need help with this wild man, and Gilgamesh sends a prostitute to seduce Enkidu. It works. Enkidu has sex with the prostitute for 7 days and then becomes civilized, because apparently that's what it takes. Enkidu then goes to Uruk and stops Gilgamesh from raping a bride. The two get into a tussle, but then they become fast friends. They become best friends, in fact. They go on a quest for cedar to a big forest, but there is a monster who's basically like an ogre, kind of. That's what he's always depicted as an ogre. So there's an ogre in the forest named Humbaba. And Humbaba is like terrorizing the forest, and so they fight Humbaba, Enkidu and Gilgamesh do. They kill him, and they cut off his head. They come back to Uruk, and then the goddess of love, whose name is Ishtar, offers herself to Gilgamesh. She says, Gilgamesh, become my husband. Gilgamesh not only rejects her, but goes further and insults her. Ishtar is furious, naturally, so she sends the Bull of Heaven to Uruk to terrorize the people. Gilgamesh and Enkidu fight and defeat the Bull of Heaven, but Enkidu gets cursed. And I think the curse is as punishment for Gilgamesh because it makes Enkidu sick. And then Enkidu dies. And Gilgamesh is just devastated because that was his best friend. They were bosom buddies, you could say. So Gilgamesh gets concerned about life and death, so he seeks out an immortal man named Utnapishtim. And that's exactly how it sounds. That is spelled exactly how it sounds. So, he seeks out Utnapishtim by crossing the Sea of Death in a boat to get to the island that Utnapishtim lives on. Utnapishtim then tells Gilgamesh his story, which is the story of the flood. So this is where the Epic of Gilgamesh becomes a story within a story, which is not unusual for Near Eastern poetry or Near Eastern stories. So they favor a story within a story. So the flood story is basically the Bible story of Noah, but if you're unfamiliar with that, I will go over it. So in this version, there's an overpopulation of the earth. There are too many people making too much noise, and the gods can't sleep. So one god named Enlil sends a flood to wipe out humanity. And another god, who is Utnapishtim's patron god, or not patron god, but like house god kind of thing, like his god. I think they're called patron gods, so never mind me. Anyways, so another god tells Utnapishtim to build a boat and escape the flood with his wife and his family, or I guess just his wife. And Utnapishtim is then granted immortality along with his wife, and he's told to live on this island away from everybody else. So once Gilgamesh hears the story, he's very tired, so he falls asleep for 7 days. And then at the end of the story, at the end of the Epic of Gilgamesh, I should say, not the end of the flood story, that's already done. At the end of the Epic, Gilgamesh goes back home and writes his own story. Writes like his story of his adventures. So that is the Epic of Gilgamesh. I know it has a kind of a, unfortunately, not exciting ending. But anyways, hope you got something out of that. Maybe you'll decide to read it more in depth. There are free translations online, because I'm doubting that you know how to read Sumerian cuneiform. So you can find free translations online. I have found that's where I read it. I read it online. So I hope you liked this video, and if you did, you know what to do.